Right, today we're talking about Russian dolls, and the word for a Russian doll is a matrioska, and you spell that M-A-T-R-E-S-H-K-A. Russian dolls have another name, they're called Russian nesting dolls, and as you see from this set here, the five, they all fit inside one another in a rather beguiling fashion. So all of these have got other dolls inside them, and these are other examples of the matrioshka. The word comes from a very popular Russian name among the peasants in the 19th century, Matriona, and that itself probably derives from Martha or Mary, and was thus a very popular name reflecting the religious roots of those particular names. Now, where do the dolls themselves come from is a very interesting point. They appear to have been designed by one of the members of an artistic colony in late 19th century Russia that was set up by a Russian industrialist called Sava Marmontov. And he was particularly interested in Russian folk crafts. An artist who was subsequently very well known, Malyutin, Sergei Malyutin, drew a design for a Russian doll that had this nesting effect, and it was in fact carved by somebody who was to become quite famous subsequently, Zvyozdechkin, who was a craftsman working in the colony. Then Malyutin's wife took the doll. There on the internet you can find the original doll, which had 8 pieces in it, and took the doll to the Paris exhibition of 1900, where it was awarded a bronze medal. And that's really where it first hit the international scene. Then, really the next point of their development comes in the Soviet Union in the Cold War period, where they're really picked up and taken and developed as almost a symbol of Russian folk art and of Russian interest in the folk, in the people in particular, and what they could produce. But their design was very controlled. They're made of lime wood, which is again an interesting point about them, because you can cut lime wood extremely thinly, which is obviously what you have to do. So they really looked like this during most of the Soviet period, and these are Soviet examples that I collected when I was much younger. When perestroika came and glasnost and Gorbachev, then we had really loss of the hold over the design, and the whole thing exploded. And now it's very, very common to see the use of caricature in the Russian doll. This one is called, sorry about the noise. Right, the people here are, that's Gorbachev, this is Brezhnev in a caricatured way. Here we have, I think this must be Khrushchev. It's not as clear. This one, I think, is probably an attempt at Lenin. And the wonderful thing that in the middle is you have a rather demonic baby with the kind of a skull and crossbones, but also the hammer and sickle. So caricature came in. I bought that one in Moscow in the early 90s. And now they're everywhere. Everything from, I mean, I've just been to Russia. They've got Sarkozy, Obama, international presidents in them, as well as, of course, Russian presidents as well. Now, one of the questions that I ask myself is, why is this such an enduring toy? And I think it's to do with the fact that it being a combination of something that has cultural attraction and is also obviously a toy, I think, for children, the doll aspect of it. There is, in this idea of the nesting, the one in the other, the sphinx-like face, there is an air of mystery, a desire to want to get down to the tiniest figure. That is something I think which is very true about Russian life. You scrape off one layer and find something quite extraordinary, and it takes you on and you want to go further. And Russian life is extraordinarily unpredictable. This plays a joke on you because it is so predictable. In some ways you do get to the baby who is the image of the mother. But there is a game being played here in I think, a cultural sense. Some sources say it's not a Russian idea, although it was designed by Malyutin. He took the original idea from an example he'd seen in Japan, but it has become so iconically Russian that I don't think anybody is particularly interested in that part at the moment. It is something which is central to Russia herself.